Welcome back, everybody. I'm watching to Age of Plays World End Economica. Uh, well, last time basically got an overview of the city and the main character's goals in life. Who wants to go to the center of the lunar city and become a billionaire, be at the forefront of humanity when they take the next step in space navigation and all that. Kind of wondering what they mean by the orbital elevator, though. Because when I think of an elevator, or an orbital elevator, I'm thinking like from the UQ holder. It's just a really long tower. It's going all the way out to wherever it goes. Anyways, the road was paved with neatly shaved limestone rocks. It was chipped and cracked here and there, but no one tried to patch it. The rough dirt of the moon had piled up in its recesses. Waterways were occasionally visible, and in them you could see clear running water as well as fish swimming. While hydrogen was available on the moon, there was no water, so once hydrogen had been synthesized into water, it was made sure that every drop remained circulating within the dome. The waterway's final destination was a giant water processing plant at Newton City. In other words, everything was designed to gather in the center of the mortar-shaped city, whether it's people, water, or wealth. From there, everything was disseminated? Yeah, that word. After crossing the intricate waterways and bridges, I passed through a narrow valley and reached my destination. It was called the Lunar Chinese Restaurant. Okay, because when I was just checking the last recording, I was like, he never got to Chinese restaurant. It's run by a Chinese husband and wife with a strong spirit of enterprise who emigrated to the moon. I could sit down here from early afternoon over to whenever, and they wouldn't say a word. However, the elderly wife's health had been fading recently, and the woman who sometimes worked at the restaurant in their place was a bit of a pain. While I prayed that she wouldn't be here today, it was in vain, especially on an unlucky day already full of policemen and stock losses. As I opened the frosted glass door, the woman, watching the television placed near the ceiling with her head rested in her arms, propped up on the counter, lowered her glance listlessly. While I was overcome with the urge to just shut the door and go to another store, the woman raised her voice before I got the chance. Table for one! The kitchen was run by the silent, stubborn, elderly husband of the family, so no signs of affection were ever given by him. Of course, no reply came from the kitchen. Even so, it was too late to leave, so I entered the store with a heavy gate and set up camp in a corner seat. While mountains of hydrocarbons sat at the moon's poles, they still couldn't be used for luxuries such as making plastic. As a result, most of the store's equipment was made from either wood or iron. Both could be gathered on the moon, and were easily decomposable by microbes when thrown away. An iron cup was placed with a clang on my tattered wooden table that was no doubt found in a dump somewhere. The woman, beaming, then poured me water from high up. The water seemed like it should splash out, but it all stayed in the now perfectly filled cup. You showed up, you delinquent. Crab omelet over fried rice. I bluntly made my order without a proper reply. The woman was about 20 years old and had bright, healthy hair. She had been... yeah, that looks like pink. I like the R, by the way. It's nice. She had been working here for a while and seemed to know a lot about customers, so she probably lived in the area. One crab fried. The woman cheerfully yelled towards the kitchen, and then, of all of the things she could have done, she sat down across from me. Only her body was off to the side, and her vision was fixed on the TV. She seemed interested in some plot point in the drama she was watching. I heard that actor there is in the area right now. He's going to negotiate his next title and bask in space at the same time. A beautiful actress from around here is accompanying him. I didn't ask, but she informed me anyway. I ended up glancing at the screen as I silently took my PC out of my bag. He's a little too handsome, though. While that may be true, I still felt my urge to reply with a "so what" as I placed my PC on the table and switched it on. Do you get internet here? The PC was loaded up with financial information and charts of historical prices for the 4,000 stocks on the Lunar Stock Exchange. In order to make profit tomorrow I had to find my next target. Oh, want to use our power? I raised my glance after being asked a question and found my eyes meeting the woman's. She had beautiful almond-shaped eyes that were even brighter in color than her hair. Must have led an easy life, I thought to myself. Nevertheless, it'd be helpful if I could use the restaurant to electricity. Even if I did decide to go back to that half-ass net cafe, the rates were cheaper at night. The problem was that my battery might not last until then. Sally took out my adapter and plugged it into the cord that the woman, still seated, lazily dragged my way with her foot. I don't understand the waitress. She's like, hey, you want to use our power? But then I can't tell if she's trying to be helpful or not. As I hugged the ground in order to plug my adapter into the outlet, the woman mischievously twitched the toes in her sandals. Perv. That was what she said to me once I raised my head, but she wasn't even wearing a skirt. Naturally, I ignored it and booted up my PC. After that, the woman stopped messing with me, and the only sounds in the restaurant were the filtered voices from the television and the swinging pots in the kitchen. This was a quiet area without much foot traffic, and it felt like time passed slowly here. The thing that made me go far out of my way to come here, other than the fact that they wanted to report me to the cops, was this tranquility. What did you eat yesterday? Well, it was pretty tranquil until the woman suddenly asked me a question. I thought she was watching a drama. What did what I had to eat yesterday have anything to do with you? I ignored her as I stared at my screen, but she wouldn't stop looking at me. Her face, visible in the corner of my eye, didn't make it look like she was particularly interested in the question, but she wouldn't turn away. Defeated, I raised my glance, and at that moment she grinned. Pasta. Pasta! Yeah, that was an Italian reference. Not a very good impression of Italy, though. I answered, then turned back to my screen. I updated my data while I was in the cafe, so I searched for any corporate news that might affect the market in the next few days. From where? As I clicked my tongue, the woman's smile, as expected, disappeared. She didn't get mad or stand up, though. That isn't Suchi, you know. She said this so seriously that instead of getting mad, I ended up blushing. She treated me like a complete child. Big Bowl Cafe. Weird name. It was an arrogantly named place for a nearly illegal operation. You see, bulls were symbols of strong markets. For that reason, there were bronze bulls placed in front of the biggest financial districts in the world, like America's Wall Street or the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So for me, the place was good luck. Huh, so Saralt's handmade pasta. Saralt? Was there a real skinny guy there? That guy owns the place. Owns the... I was a little heartbroken at those words. I was sure that he was some loser who worked there by the hour, but to be the owner of a store, big or small, was a fine example of a capitalist. Not only that, I was heartbroken to hear that I was eating his pasta. I mean, it was good. I taught him how to make those. The woman beamed with pride. Wait, if she taught him, then where did they know each other from? Don't tell me they used to be lovers. So I dreamed up juicy scenarios in my head. I vaguely stared at her face, and she turned back to the television. So, was that lunch? Dinner? Huh? Did you eat that for lunch or dinner? I didn't have the slightest idea as to why she was asking for all these details. It was probably some stupid made-for-a-woman horoscope that she watched every day. But it was something like, if you ask a boy you meet today what and where he ate for each meal yesterday, your lucky color is yellow and your lucky word is optimism. Dinner. What about lunch? I had set out to click my tongue, but after being told straight-faced that it didn't suit me, I ended up holding back. The woman might have noticed this fact, but she was grinning slightly. Or because she was grinning slightly. I answered her after telling her in my mind to shut up. I didn't need anything. Really? This time I didn't keep myself from clicking my tongue, or from getting angry for that matter. Why should want to know these things in such complete detail baffled me. And what do you care? Right as I returned to the question, a plate of fried rice hit the counter with a thud. The woman stood up and brought the plate over. Then, right as I thought she was going to place it on the table, she kept the plate in her hand and looked down at me. You really didn't eat anything for lunch. As if to show her that I was trying my hardest not to click my tongue, I started to peel my upper lip with my teeth. No, I didn't. I don't eat lunch on weekdays. What about today? Today's an exception, since I was driven out of the cafe at a weird time. And so what? And anyway, give me my food that you're just holding there. Eating a proper lunch was something special to me, since I usually only did it on Sundays when the Lunar Stock Exchange was closed. Eating lunch on a weekday was rare. As I glared at the woman, she heaved a small sigh and placed the plate on the table, completely unperturbed. The smell of the sweet and sour sauce whetted my appetite. My interest shifted from the now strangely annoying woman's questions to being fixated on the food in front of me. You need to eat 3 proper meals a day. The woman talked to me while standing and staring at me, digging into the fried rice. Eat a little more neatly. I drove business, I muttered mentally as I piled a mountain of fried rice and crab omelets on my spoon and shoveled it all in my mouth. Okay. The woman sighed, then listlessly returned to her counterside chair. What a cryptic, stupid woman. I focused on my food, stuffing my stomach with such vigor that I barely had time to even sigh. After filling my... Because they are giving, I don't know, sprites, I guess I'll just go with it, calling them. Because they're giving sprites to... They gave Sprite to the clerk at the cafe, who, I mean, we'll probably see again, but he wasn't, like, I'm assuming not a main character. So, it's hard for me to tell whether or not characters are going to be main. Even if they have a thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. After filling my stomach with fried rice, I ordered the IU jelly, a sweet and sour gelatinous dish. It was unusual to see this dessert around here, but it's definitely delicious, if a little expensive. However, today was a cursed day, and I thought that it might be just the exorcism I needed. You got the money, right? Yeah, I got like however much it was. I don't remember. The woman doubted me after I made my order, but of course, I had enough money to have a regular meal. I could rent a cheap apartment for 400 mules a month, so I could live on my own pretty easily. The reason I actually couldn't was because there weren't any places in Manor with no guarantor I could rent. For that on Earth, people in my situation were sometimes able to make it happen, but unfortunately, lunar cities were only accessible via orbital elevator, and so everyone's identity was known. If I went around a house, they immediately run my fingerprints and an iris scan, and then contact my parents. Unless you're an extraterrestrial, if you're on the moon, they know who you are and where you came from. Have I ever stiffed you? What? Just because you paid in the past doesn't mean that you're sure to pay next time. Anyway, you ran away from home, right? You need to take better care of your money. I felt a strange sense of comfort in the fact that our lecture wasn't about my running away itself. And overall, I agree with the idea that people should take care of their money. You don't have to tell me that. Oh, really? The woman shrugged, then carried the IU jelly from the counter where it just appeared. It's hard to argue with her, since I was, in fact, wasting money here, but I was confident that I had more money than anyone else my age. What's more, I had never gone on a wild spending spree before. Magic of compound interest made the world go round. If 1 mule today turned into 10 in a year, then 3 years after that it'd be 10,000. Compare that to what my dad would make in his entire life, earning roughly the same amount every month from sweating in the fields to grow vegetables. In 5 years, there'd be no way I'd be eating in a lame restaurant like this. That woman might be making fun of me now, but I bet I'd eventually be wearing a stylish suit and living in a high-rise apartment in Newton City. And of course, I was not going to stop there. That wasn't where my dream ended. It would be where it would begin. If you're some rich actor, you might be able to bask in space on the opposite side of the moon with some beautiful woman by your side. But if you were one of the wealthiest here in this lunar city, you could go even further. You could make all the emotions and desires you feel when you look up at space come true. I ate the sweet and sour clump of IU jelly, then, as I looked at my screen choose a tree that will grow me money, I got immersed in a familiar daydream. This place was the forefront of humanity, a golden city of wealth and prosperity. I would run through the city's gates. I'd outwit the geniuses and prodigies from Earth to finally take my place there. I suddenly got myself worked up during this quite early afternoon in a Chinese restaurant. Only as I was moving my touch mouse back and forth, and just as I brought up the display for the prominent Even on the Moon investment bank E.G. Rockberg, customers entered the store. I thought it was strange that customers would come in at this hour and raise my head. At that moment, a feeling ran throughout my body like an ice cube that had just been stuck up my asshole. Well, this guy. What's happening? Oh. Hi, guys. No, don't worry, whatever your main character's name was. They won't recognize you. If you don't act suspicious, they won't care. Welcome. 2, please. Yes, sir. Table for 2. The woman said this in her usual carefree voice, but the words barely entered my ear. I lowered my cap even further over my eyes and hunched over, trying to hide in the reflection of my PC display. Dude, you're acting very suspicious right now. Looking at their clothes, it was unmistakable. The pair had just arrived at the table on the other side of the restaurant with police officers on patrol. I'll get the attention on. I like the red, the redhead one. Are you just gonna hold up your hands like that forever? Same here. Very well. To attention. Seemed like they just chose this place randomly during their patrol, but who likes eating in the same restaurant as the cops? Not only that, I think those two were the ones who were at the Big Bowl Cafe, according to my faint memory. The the patrol route for the police didn't include going to cafes, so someone had to have tipped them off somehow. I was not some sort of invisible man, so someone must have surely seen me hanging around in a weird place at a weird time. Whoever that someone was, if they told the police that there was a shady-looking kid around, there'd only be a handful of places they search. It was totally possible that these two were looking for me. Oh. Okay. It might also be the reason that the policeman facing me was glancing at me now and then. But to think he'd take off and leave us on this wild goose chase. The policeman looking with his back at me suddenly spoke up. The cop looking at me waited a moment before replying to his partner. Well, it was just some big shots looking at maps all day who decided how wide our area of jurisdiction was to be. There wasn't any public survey system in that area either. But I think that if he were hiding somewhere, it would have been that net joint. So, why are they so fixated on finding him? Because he said that his parents were just like some, I don't know, gardeners or farmers or whatever they do. They make furniture. And I guess they're just a lot more fixated on making sure that there aren't any underage kids running around on the moon than on the Earth. Storekeeper there was a pretty sketchy looking guy too. Maybe we should grab him and rough him up a little. Oh, geez, policeman B. Calm down. Don't judge by appearances. He ended up having a pretty impressive history, didn't he? Yeah, I guess. Man, I should have started harder at the academy. Never thought I'd be assigned to the boonies like this. Location has nothing to do with it. You just need to carry out your duties. I like this guy more now. I was kind of liking that guy because he seemed cool, but now I like this guy more. This guy is reminding me of Dachi for some reason. From Persona 4. I don't know why. Even though he's... I don't know. You're very right about that. So they really were looking for someone. But the owner, the Seralt guy, had an impressive history. Oh! Okay, so the Big Bowl Cafe... Big Bowl Cafe was the place that he... It was the cafe at the beginning. Okay. And Seralt was the clerk. So, now that he has a name, he'll probably come back, and that's why he had a thing. Okay. Just making these assumptions that people are going to be coming back because they had a thing now. What do we do after this? If we go by the book, we'd start the usual thing with questioning people. His coworker, facing me, took a sip of water and went quiet, as if in thought. I got the feeling that he was taking a good hard look at me. In my mind, I was praying that he gave up on the questioning and just went back to their nest. If we call on for reinforcements, we're just going to get laughed at. Looks like we've got no choice. Anyway, our duty is to keep public order. Cracks in public safety begin in the smallest places. Even if it's just one boy, we can't just let him get away. My heart felt like jumping out of my mouth. Now there's no mistake. They were tipped off by someone and were out looking for me. Lunar cities were nuts about keeping public order. Even in the Red Valley, where suspicious guys wandered the streets, there was not even the faintest trace of any real danger. It was just a degenerate, pleasure-seeking town. Everyone knew just how risky committing an act of physical violence was in a place this small. After all, if you were deported by the residential management court, there'd be no question that you'd never be able to come back. Okay, I'm looking at the... I'm using open broadcast, by the way, because Fraps doesn't work with this, and the game audio is just like pulsating. Is there like music right now that I can't hear? Nah. The only people exempt from that form of punishment were people who were born on the moon. Even then, if you committed second-degree murder or worse, it was not so certain. There was a helicopter or something. Or no, that's not a helicopter, that's a plane. Of course, I wouldn't be subject to the penal code just because I ran away from home, but the overall zeal for maintaining public order would mean that I'd be sent back home. After that, I'd probably be forced to report to a local facility every day until I became an adult. While that happened, I'd grow further and further away from the front line of the world and would eventually be swallowed up by the masses. I fixed my darting eyes on my hands and thought desperately, how should I escape from here? If If I grabbed my PC and ran, the plug would get in the way. Do I unplug the adapter from my PC, then take off running with just the unit? My identity could be given away by the adapter, but it was still better than being captured. Or should I stay still right here and wait for them to leave? I'd like to do that if possible, but that officer staring at me seemed like he was about to stand up and shout, "Hey you!" to me at any moment. A cold sweat dripped onto my keyboard. Wait, that one wouldn't have ratted me out, would she? I saw this possibility. I was tortured by a desperate rage, but suddenly a shadow appeared on the table. It was that woman. More water. She poured me a refill. I cursed her in my heart, wishing that she wouldn't draw their attention toward me at a time like this, and my lowered face was totally flushed. But a piece of paper with words written on it was attached to the side of the cup. She clunked down on the table. Get ready. I nearly raised my head, but the woman quickly left my table before I could make the mistake. I set my computer to mute and shut it down so that they didn't notice that my OS was no longer running. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, makes noise when it turns off. So you muted it first. Yeah. I'll give up on the adapter. I quietly pulled the cord out of my main units and confirmed the location of my bag. I already used the money I always kept in my jacket pocket at the cafe, so I'll use what I had in my back pocket. There's a line in an old mafia movie from Earth that I saw at home that said that a $10 bill kept in your clothes was a business card to God. Suddenly kept you well prepared. I proudly placed a 10 bill by my hand, perked up my ears, and waited for the right timing. The policeman had been staring at me non-stop. He was definitely suspicious of me. With a clang, the policeman started to get up. Tension up! At that very moment, the tension on was loudly placed on the counter. What's wrong? The cop called out to his partner, who was now halfway out of his seat. Is it the guy behind me? Right after he said this, a woman's voice energetically rang throughout the room. Thanks for waiting. Here's your tension on. Oh, yeah. The one with his back to me turned his attention back to the food. The other one was looking at me, but because the woman was standing next to his corner seat, he was stuck in his seat and couldn't get out. Now is the moment. The woman looked at me. It was my only chance. Dude, you should have at least taken the adapter. I feel like something bad's gonna happen about that. Or maybe you could come back later for it. Unless they take it for evidence. I pulled my hat over my face, closed my PC with my head still down, grabbed it, and then shoved it into my bag. Your payment's on the table. I said this as quickly as possible and left the 10 bill on the table. Hey, you, wait! The officer clearly told me to stop, but I just gave him the sideways glance as I quickly walked towards the exit. It was only a distance of 3 steps, but it felt like forever. The yelling officer attempted to chase after me, but the woman was in the way and he couldn't get out. Yeah! The shrill scream came from the woman, who lost her balance after being pushed by the officer. She turned to the other officer, still sitting in his chair, and the piping hot tension and looked... Oh, accidentally. Don't go... Oh, wait. Oh my goodness, is there no log? There's no log! Oh, there it is. Let's see. She turned to the other officer, still sitting in his chair, and the piping hot tension and looked like it was about to spill. Acting out of natural self-defense, the officer caught the bowl in his hands. By that time, I had successfully exited the store. Took off running as if nothing else in the world mattered. Well. This part's been about 20 minutes. So, see you in the next part. Bye.